Hey y'all, it's a triple threat episode of Steph and Cat Talk Wow, with the trios titles being on the line in a very extreme match. And you have the Enlightened going to war with Santana Garrett. This is Steph and Cat Talk Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home with the Teddy Longs and the Ruben Studders. More once you discover. For all of the lovers, Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers, and Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers, and Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape. Every one of us, I was kinda late, so I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fate, cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the hate, gotta focus.
Hey y'all, happy Sunday and welcome to a new episode of Steph and Cat Talk Wow, brought to you by the Hardy Wrestling Podcast and In Cat We Trust. Of course, I'm your girl Stephanie Hardy, host and creator of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast, of also HWP Extra, and co-host of this fabulous platform where we talk about the action, the all-girls action of WoW superheroes, women of wrestling. Sadly, my co-host and my tag team partner Katrina Blake couldn't be with me because she has been busy this weekend at various New York and New Jersey indie shows. So if you're out there in that area, please go and support her and support indie wrestling as a whole. But you're just with me now as we talk about the latest 3 episodes of Stepping of WoW Superheroes. We will talk about the next episode this week later on, but of course we wanted to come on and express and talk about all the craziness that's been going on with our WoW girls over these last few episodes. We are so sorry. Our weeks have just been swamped and busy with work and indie shows, even with me and even with Kat and so many different things. But we're going to try our level best to still be as consistent as we can with our WoW coverage. So thank you guys so much for understanding. And if you're watching us live right now, thank you. And of course, if you want to watch us later, you can always watch us later on both of our YouTube channels at The Hardy Wrestling Podcast and In Cat We Trust. So, the first episode we are going to be covering today is going to be Alliance Takeover. Now, of course, in the past couple of weeks, the alliance with Ariana Gambino, Daddy's Little Princess, Reina Del Rey, The Exterminator, Sylvia Sanchez, BK Rhythm, and Gigi Gianni have been trying to enforce their way to the top of the WoW division in so many different ways. And in this episode, Alliance Takeover, this sort of saw Reina Del Rey trying to inch her way to the top of trying to challenge for the WoW World title, which is now, of course, held by Penelope Pink. And now the Fab Four, as the top faction, holds all of the OG WoW Gold with the tag titles and the WoW World Championship. So within this episode, we saw Lana Starr come out and brag about how amazing it is that her faction holds all of the gold, and how nobody, is going to rise up to go up against Penelope Pink and take the title from her. But before Penelope was even able to say anything, Reina Del Rey comes out and says, "Cállate, cállate." Let me put it in English for you. In English, this little pinky went to market, but she had a little bit of gold on her. But here's the thing, that gold would look a lot better in my lowrider. So tell you what, Pink, I want my time with you in that ring for the Wild World Championship. And brother, I'm only asking for what's due to me. But Santana Garrett comes out and interrupts things by saying, "Okay, ladies, are we looking at recent history or history in general? Because I don't think anyone deserves a title shot more than the real life superhero, me, Santana Garrett." And then Penelope Pink was just like, "Why are you so obsessed with me? Get a life," which reminds me of that song Mariah Carey made all those years ago. "Why are you so obsessed with me?" Because that's literally what she was giving. But David McLean decides to create a number one contenders match between Santana Garrett and Reina Del Rey to see who would be next in line to face Penelope Pink. So that happened there. So we then go backstage to find that Tara Strike of the Dojo Defenders and Ashley Blaze are asking Sibley Skulls, the WoW interviewer, to go to administration to get them a tag title opportunity. And this is interesting because I'm wondering if Karakai even knew about this or if they had even been talking, because here lately they have been beefing and haven't been on the same page. So in the midst of this, we see that Ashley Blaze, who is someone who's had Terror Strikes back in the past, they're both now asking for a tag title opportunity against Miami Sweet Heat, and they're asking Sibley Skulls to sort of facilitate that request for them. And I think this is also an interesting tidbit because in the last couple of episodes, we've only seen Sibley Skulls be an interviewer. We've never really seen her be like an active moving character, propelling the storylines forward since she's been on the show. So I thought that was really cool and very interesting to see there with her. I'm always a fan of seeing more of her on my screen. And even if she isn't on the WoW screen, she's definitely somewhere else doing more interview stuff because she's fantastic. So I'm definitely here for it. And we're going to talk more about how we saw more of Sibley um, on the episodes of WoW. So in the midst of this, they also cut a promo leading up until their match saying that they're confident and ready to fight against the alliance in their fatal in that 8-woman tag, but then the vibes were completely off. So in the midst of the vibes being completely off, this leads us to our first match of this episode, which was the Alliance versus the Dojo Defenders and the partners of their choosing, which turned out to be Ashley Blaze and Kara Kai. This match was very hard hitting. It was really good and full of action. I really enjoyed it in terms of what they had to offer. In terms of action, you could tell it was very heated. And something that I was looking towards when it came to this match had that going on just had to be when it came down to the chemistry of all of the teams and all the combinations of teams within the teams. And it felt like to me, Tara Strike and Ashley Blaze had more chemistry as a team together than Kara Kai and than Tara and Kara have had more recently, and definitely a little bit more. And you could also say that even Kara and Sandy had a little bit more chemistry as well. But as the match continued to go on, Ashley Blaze arm drag and roundhouse kick BK Rhythm for a 2 count. It was lots of hard hitting stuff. Sylvia Sanchez came in and became the X factor for the entire match. A good portion of the time when it came to the alliance and everything. And eventually, as everything started to wear down, um, Sylvia came in and hit Sandy with a DDT and tagged in Ariana Gambino for the cover. And the alliance wound up winning the match, which kind of bummed me out because it seemed like to a degree um there was a lot of chemistry on display throughout Team Dojo, but here again there was a lot of miscommunication there between them all. And now we're sort of at this fork in the road when it comes to Terror Strike and Karakai. So it was really, this match was a really high octane match on the part of all of the women. But of course, another dynamic that I did notice in this match is the fact that a lot of the alliance will do the heavy lifting for Ariana Gambino, all for her to come in and cover and make it seem like she did something amazing, like, oh my god, look at me, I did this and blah blah blah. But in actuality, it was all of your girls who did a lot of the work, and now you're just like, okay, um this is great. But but in the midst of it all, it's just really interesting to see how all of these teams are either coming together or falling apart. It was just really frustrating, but at the same time a really good match. So yeah, I enjoyed this match very much, even though it's breaking my heart to see the Dojo Defenders fall apart the way that they are. But sometimes when it comes to people coming together, sometimes there are people who are meant to stay in your life for a very long time, and then there are others who are meant to stay there for a season. And it looks like the Dojo Defenders are reaching the end of their season together, and it bums you out, but that's just the way life is at times. So, as we move forward with the rest of the episode, um, a good portion of these episodes only have a few matches at a time within them, but either way, we're going to keep going. The next match that was really enjoyable turned out to be Scout Parker versus Catalina Speed. And I feel like in the past, we've seen episodes where you'll have one specific superhero who will stand out as sort of like the gatekeeper or the bar of WoW in order to have great matches against, to see who can actually like step up and make and stake their claim and the spotlight at WoW. And I feel like this season it's definitely Scout Parker. She's someone who we've seen grow on the show and get like 10 times better, and seeing her go up against Catalina Speed was another example of a really great match. And Catalina Speed has been a little bit more aggressive in her matches as of late, especially since she's hooked up with Vicious Veronica Vroom, Team Vroom Speed. I'm still pushing that name. Um, Catalina Speed attacked Scout Parker with a lot of aggression, but then she paid for it with a drop toe hold. Then Scout hit a diving shoulder tackle and then shook her head back, and then hit a step up enziguri. Then Kat hit a sidewalk slam onto Scout Parker for a 2 count and proceeded to kick Scout and hit the Vroom Speed pose on the ropes as Scout Parker was choking. Then Catalina Speed speared Scout in the ring corners and hit a sliding clothesline for a 2 count, but then Catalina gave a stretch double knee submission that puts you in the mind of a stretch muffler, but just in a different variation of it. But then Scout adjusted her body to move out of it and get a near fall. Either way, this match was a really great back and forth, but Scout Parker wound up getting the upper hand by giving a clothesline series to Catalina, a hurricanrana and a high knee to the chin, and a moonsault from the second rope for a 3 count in order to win the match. And honestly, do you know how athletic you have to be to hit like a moonsault from the second rope? Now, of course, you have to be athletic for to do one from the top rope, but doing one from the second rope is pretty nuts. And Scout wound up getting the upper hand and winning, and this was really cool. But something that I do wonder in terms of Catalina's speed, like since her and Vicious Veronica Room have hooked up, she hasn't really won that much. And I don't know what exactly their goal is, because at one point they did talk about trying to go after the tag titles, but then now it just seems like it's more of Catalina Speed fighting on her own, and V3 sort of just being out there to be her moral support, but it's not really bearing as many results as I would have thought or would have hoped. So a part of me is wondering, do they need to go back to the drawing board, or is this like or is this just another friendship that's just going to be short-lived? I don't know. But either way, this was a really great match. I do recommend you watch it. And Scout Parker here again showed why she's definitely a gatekeeper and one of the best wrestlers that WoW has on their roster this season. So after this, we get a spotlight on Reina Del Rey, who essentially vows to own Vegas with the Alliance and wants to collect every single title at WoW with them. And that was really interesting. But then we also go to another spotlight on Santana Garrett, who talked about her journey with professional wrestling. She talked about enjoying wrestling as a child and watching her father pursue his wrestling dreams. And she talked about how she worked 2 full-time jobs while pursuing her wrestling training, and rising as a wrestler in the Indies. And she trained with WoW in the very beginning, in the early 2000s, with WoW OG Amber O'Neil. If you may or may not be familiar with her, she did more recently have a tag team going along with Jesse Jones. before she left the show. But either way, Amber O'Neil has a pretty wide ranging history when it comes to WoW. And they became, her and Santana Garrett actually became WoW Tag Team Champions as the All American Girls. So, in the midst of this, she also became the WoW World Champion. But while she was filming episodes in the midst of her reign as WoW World Champion, her father sadly passed away from cancer. And she said that she lost herself a little bit and it took a long time for her to get back to who she was and back to her joy and everything. But once she did find that purpose again, um she was able to find purpose and find fire within wrestling outside of just also paying tribute to her father and bring gold home in honor of him. So I thought that was really, really, really good and very heartfelt stuff. I always love the superhero spotlights that they show on WoW because it shows more of the humanity that these women have, and it shows more of their story behind their character and who they are. So anytime I hear stories like this, it just makes me feel like I can relate to them in on a deeper level outside of what they offer in ring. So I really enjoyed Santana's superhero spotlight. So this leads to our main event, which was Reina Del Rey versus Santana Garrett. Of course, this was a number one contenders match to see who would be next in line to face Penelope Pink for that Wild World Championship. And when I tell you I wanted Santana to win so bad because I feel like a running theme this year is essentially going to be me and Katrina wanting Santana to get her things and shenanigans just getting in the way no matter what. And it's just very frustrating, but we're going to do our best to hang in there for her. So Santana came out feeling all of the momentum and the courage in the world, and the crowd was behind her. Something that we are seeing with this Vegas crowd is that Santana is definitely a favorite amongst them, and they're cheering for her constantly over and over again. And you love to see it. But here again, we got to get to the brass tacks of things. But David McLean actually had the alliance thrown out by security, which was very refreshing because a lot of the time, whenever people bring their managers or their friends out, it's like he never really enforces the law as the commissioner or like the owner or whatever. But this time he actually did and made the alliance have to go backstage or basically lock them up in a closet somewhere. And I was just like, okay, great. So this match is going to be fair and square, so we thought. um so as the match goes on, Reina Del Rey tried to shove Santana into the ropes, and before they officially locked up, you had a lot of the power dynamic that Reina Del Rey has over Santana Garrett, but of course Santana was trying to use her agility and her quickness to get the upper hand on her. But every time she tried to do that, Reina Del Rey would like snap her neck or try to break her back with backbreakers through the ropes. And then there was a point where Reina Del Rey actually choked and raped Santana Garrett's face. Reina Del Rey even locked in a camel clutch and even stuck a wet willy inside of Santana's mouth while she had it locked in, which was just really gross. And I was just like, oh my God, girl, why? But then she also gave a seated full Nelson and a lariat for a 2 count. But Santana proceeded to also battle back with elbow strikes. But when it looked like Santana had the upper hand and could have beaten Reina Del Rey, the Enlightened with Samantha Smart, Nova Sky, Miranda the Mindful, and Dr. Pam Demonium, I'm sorry, came out, interrupted the match, and then as they hijacked the match, the classmaster gave Reina Del Rey a book while the referee was distracted, and she used the book to hit Santana across the head and cover her for the 1, 2, 3. And now the new number one contender for the Wild World Championship is Reina Del Rey. This bummed me all the way out. Like, it really bummed me out because my thing is, I just can't deal with this. Like, I understand to a degree that Santana tried to even up the odds when it came to the class master fighting in her matches or whatever. Um, and when it came to Tormenta when she was champion, but this big beef that she has with Santana and taking it so far as to reinventing her entire faction, recruiting whole new people, and then interrupting the match, knocking her out, and then on top of knocking Santana Garrett out, putting her on a stretcher and carrying her away while chanting, "Enlighten her, enlighten her, enlighten her, enlighten her," was so creepy. It was so creepy. It was giving horror movie. And even backstage, you saw Sibley Skull say, "Yo, like, Santana, do you have anything to say? Can you hear me?" And she couldn't hear her because she was knocked out on the stretcher. And they were carrying her away. And I'm just like, are they just going to do like some science projects on her? It was so scary. I was just like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Like, what are we going to do? Like, did they kidnap her and put her in a lab? They put her in like a bowl so she could float around like a fish, like Mrs. Freeze from Batman. It was nuts. It was so nuts. I could not believe any of what they did um, after that match. It was just really, really crazy. So that's the end of Alliance takeover. The Alliance has taken over. They've got a step in the right direction with Reina Del Rey being number one contender against Penelope Pink for the Wild World title. But Santana Garrett's been knocked out and put somewhere. But we're about to get into where she went, okay? So um, thank you all for watching here again live because we're talking about 3 episodes today and not just the 2 or 1. So thank you guys for your patience. So now we're moving into the next episode, which was called The First Defense, which aired on March the 7th and the 8th of 2026. They showed a recap of the match between Reina Del Rey and Santana Garrett and all of the above. But this episode officially started with Sibley Skulls searching for Santana Garrett, looking for her backstage. And she winds up finding her in a closet. And she looked drained of spirit and drained of her personality when she did find her. And when Sibley asked her, "Do you remember what happened to you?" Santana was like, "No, I don't. I don't remember what happened to me." And it was just so crazy. So as we move forward, the episode started properly with a promo from the WoW Trios champions at this point in time, top tier. And Coach Campanelli cut the promo saying, "You know, I think for the first time in my career, I have to give it up for Monsters and Metal. You know, Fury is very observant, and she just might have me pegged because she got one thing right. I will do anything to retain these trios tag team titles. So she can open a challenge for us. She can open a challenge to us for a no DQ, no time limit, falls count anywhere, full metal massacre. But I would open a challenge to her and her freaks as well. Come, give us your best shot. Show us what metal you're made of because you're going to have to pry. You're going to have to, yeah, you're going to have to put us you're going to have to put all 3 of us into the ground to pry these titles out of our cold, dead hands. And that is why we are the greatest team in all of professional wrestling. Top tier. So yeah, this is where we're at. She was willing to answer the challenge for a full metal massacre match for those Wild Trios titles. And of course, this is another moment where bravado. I feel like if you watch the Hardy Wrestling podcast, you know how I feel about people going into matches with a lot of bravado and not a lot of, you know, skill per se. And I feel like even though top tier has a lot of skill as a team, I feel like with their cheating ways, it feels like they've been leaning more on the side of bravado. And we're going to see later on how that went for them when it comes to that full metal massacre match for those titles. But from this promo, they sound really confident. Okay. So after this promo, we got another superhero spotlight about Destiny Diesel, who is a newer WoW superhero that we're getting to know. She talked about how after her WoW debut with Sandy Shore and the Island Girl Kalaki for the WoW Trios titles. She felt like WoW was her home and she felt more comfortable, even though she was nervous, which is very understandable. Then she said that Kalaki the Island Girl has served as a mentor for her and that she's from San Diego, California. Um, I love California. I just want to go out west a whole lot more. Then her family, she talked about her family journey in sports. She said that her family encouraged her to play soccer, and her mom would coach her and yell at her and say, "Look, if someone pushes you down, you push them down harder, and you better get up afterward." So, yeah. Then she talked about being intimidated at the process of trying out for WoW, and that, but she kept training, and her mom kept encouraging her to succeed. And she wanted the competition of WoW to know that there is no stopping this freight train. And she was getting hyped up by Kalaki before her match, and that was really cool too. And the thing that I love the most about Destiny Diesel's story is just the fact that she had her mom as her cheerleader. And that's something that I can relate to as well, because my mom has been the biggest cheerleader for me doing anything I've wanted to do, whether she understood it or not. Whether she understood it or not, she was always like, okay, do this just as long as it doesn't tire you out, or just as much as you don't have too much on your plate. You can do whatever you set your mind to. And I thought that was very amazing to see and hear. And I know Katrina, as a mother herself, does the exact same thing for her children, or her cubs, as she calls them. So it's a very beautiful thing to hear when people have that support system in the form of their mom. Um, and I'm pretty sure I would be the same way if I were a mother, but yeah, I'm not yet. So we're just gonna wait for that phase. If it comes, you never know. But I love mothers so much and I admire them so much. So in the midst of this, we move into our next match, which was Animal Instinct versus Kalaki and Kalaki the Island Girl. And I'm sorry, I thought I was having some issues. And Destiny Diesel. I'm sorry. Okay. I got a little lost. I'm sorry. But yeah, the first match from this episode was Animal Instinct, Goldie Collins and Katarina Jinx going up against the Island Girl Kalaki and Destiny Diesel, who we just heard from. This match was pretty good. It started with Kalaki and Goldie. Goldie Collins was ducking an attack and waving at the crowd and showboating a lot of the time. And then Kalaki got distracted by Katarina, and Goldie grabbed Kalaki's hair and then tossed her down. Kalaki was able to then lock Goldie and wrestle her down a bit and be a little bit rough with her, but then Goldie uses her legs to choke out Kalaki a bit. But then Kalaki, being the veteran of this entire match, maneuvered her way out and reversed Goldie's legs into a sharpshooter. Sometimes I wonder what a match. I don't know if this match has ever happened in the entire history of women's wrestling as a whole. But I would love to see a match between Kalaki the Island Girl and Natalia. I just feel like that match would heal me in a number of ways that I just can't even describe. But I don't know if Natty would ever go to WoW. But I just feel like if that match hasn't already happened, it needs to, because I just feel like there's just a lot of mechanics that we would see between those two women that would just eat me up, that would eat me alive and make me happy. But going back into the match, Kalaki maneuvered out and reversed into a sharpshooter. Goldie then reached the bottom rope as Katarina actually pushed it with her foot. If it's one thing that Animal Instinct is really good at doing, they're really good at cheating and using their bodies to sort of be like, oh, well, here's this advantage here. Oh, well, here's this advantage here. Or here's this advantage here. And that was definitely on display in this tag team match. But of course, Destiny and Katarina then got the tag, and Destiny hit two shoulder tackles into Katarina Jinx and then hit a flying back elbow for a 1 count. Then Kalaki tagged in and then started in on Katarina with a hip toss and a barrel roll. Then Goldie Collins broke the count up between them, and then Kalaki got in her face, but then Katarina pulled Kalaki into a cover and a kick. And then there was this one impressive part where I think Kalaki got splashed into the corner of the ring, and then Katarina was giving like a shoulder tackle into her abs while also kicking her in the head at the same time. And I was just like, Katarina, you've been in the lab. Okay, I see you. That was crazy. And then over the course of the match, there was an advantage that Animal Instinct had over them. But then eventually, Kalaki was able, Kalaki and Destiny were able to get the upper hand after calling them out for cheating. Then they used the same cover leverage to get the 1 2 3 over them, which was so funny, but also at the same time, like, yeah, y'all got y'all just desserts. It's just like the same way y'all take advantage over others, other people might see that and want to take advantage over you that exact same way. And they wanted to get backstage and complain about it. But my thing is, no, Goldie, Katarina, you can't be out here cheating and then be expecting everybody to not do the same thing to you. That's not how life works. So yeah, um, they won this match, and I was pretty happy about it. And I also loved how usually in the form of babyface teams on WoW, we see a lot of the teams not do the same things that the heel teams do. Destiny and Kalaki were game to give Animal Instinct a taste of their own medicine by even breaking up their counts, as you can see in this picture here. So that was pretty fire, and I loved seeing that dynamic play out with those, with them as a tag team. And hopefully we can see more of Destiny Diesel by herself. I would love to see her do more singles action. But all in all, her and Kalaki have a great dynamic. Um, they were encouraging each other in the after promo, in the post-match promo with that. And like I said, Goldie and Katarina wanted to be angry about being caught, and then they said the hunt was on, and they said that they wanted a rematch. And I'm like, okay, y'all might get y'all a rematch, but it might wind up going the same way, so we'll see. I don't know. But in the midst of everything, we did get another spotlight on Gabriella Cruz, which they did air previously a few, like, I want to say in January, if not like in January when they started airing the Vegas episodes. So I won't go all the way into it because I'm pretty sure we've documented that before. But they showed it to essentially big her up for the title match that she was having against Penelope Pink. And it was mentioned on commentary that Gabriella Cruz was already booked to fight Penelope Pink before she won the title, and they just went ahead with it because, you know, it was already scheduled to happen. So this just wound up being a huge opportunity for Gabriella Cruz to show what she had to offer in terms of going up against someone as as amazing and as talented as Penelope. And those words did not hurt coming out of my mouth. But either way, you know, Penelope is that girl, and she's been that girl for a while, even with the faction. So yeah, the main event. Also, shout out to Penelope slash Marina Tucker. I was happy to highlight her for Women's History Month on my page. So if you did miss that, you can go ahead and look at that there. So the main event of this episode was Penelope Pink versus Gabriella Cruz for the Wild World title. And I gotta say, Lana Starr's dress, the way that she dresses just gags me every time I see it. But there are a few outfits that she'll put on that will just get me together. And she had on this dress that looked like it was giving like formal, like super glam bridesmaid prom queen. And it was just so cute. And I'm just like, oh my God, I want to go to an event where I can dress formal again. Because something I love seeing whenever I go out in public, like to the mall or just anywhere, it's just seeing like people dress up for weddings or people dress up for proms or quinceañeras and stuff like that. Because I remember what it was like dressing up like that. You know, I went to the prom 3 times in high school. So it's just like seeing stuff like that just makes me so excited, and it warms my heart and it swells my heart to see so many girls get their Cinderella moment and see men, you know, get their Prince Charming moment or switched or anywhere in between, you know. So it's just really cool to see. It was so amazing to see Lana Starr dressed that way. I was just like, oh my God, she has on this pink gown and she looks so gorgeous. I can't. And then we saw Penelope Pink come out with new gear that highlighted more black and less pink, but I did like the way it looked. I promise this isn't going to become like a fashion segment here. It's just that when they serve looks, I have to talk about it. I really have to talk about it because the fab in Fab Four isn't for granted. Like it's not just for because it sounds cool, it's because they really do be dressing sometimes. And they was dressing in this episode. I gotta give them their tens for that. It was cool. So as the match got started, they hit a lockup and Penelope Pink actually mushed Gabriella's face and started mocking the shimmy that she does in the ring. And I was just like, girl, you're so mean. Then Penelope Cruz actually locked in a side headlock to Penelope and gave her an arm drag after jumping from the top rope. We saw a lot of agility and athleticism from Gabriella Cruz in this match. I was not expecting this match to have like a back and forth dynamic the way that it was. Like this match, these women were going so hard in this match. It was low key hard to tell who really was gonna win because Gabriella brought her A game. Like she really did. She even hit a sunset flip for a 2 count. She had a waist lock. Gabriella gave hard hits and her agility was on full display, even hitting a twisting splash. Gabriella did not come to play. If she was gonna win the Wild World title on this episode, I wouldn't have been mad at it. Simply because of how amazing she was in this match. But of course, you had Penelope Pink battling back with her brutality, and her wit, scouting a lot of the moves and blocking the moves that Gabriella had going on. And then you had some of the interference from Lana Star, but not too much. But then she also targeted her arms and then hit a reverse twisting DDT on Gabriella. Then Gabriella double stomped Penelope's chest in the corner and then gave a double knees and a hurricanrana afterward. This match was fantastic. It was an amazing back and forth. But Penelope sprung Gabriella's neck through the ropes, um, and hit her pretty in pink for the 1, 2, 3. And Penelope Pink is still the Wild World Champion. But like I said, if Gabriella would have won in this match, I wouldn't have been mad at it because she gave her absolute all. She really did. She really gave her all, and I hope to see more of her in singles work too, because a lot of what we're seeing the tag division being built up and wow a whole lot. And I'm okay with that, but at the same time, there are some of these women who really shine a whole lot more, and you see more of their arsenal a lot more in their singles work. So if it's two people I want to see get into more singles work this year, it's Destiny Diesel and Gabriella Cruz because they did a phenomenal job in this episode. But of course, Penelope Pink is still the champion, and she did it without a whole lot of interference from Lana Star. I'm glad that Lana's backing off just a tad bit. So yeah, it was really great. I enjoyed that match, and that was the end of that episode. So now we move into the last episode, episode number 3. This was a triple threat. So if you are still sitting and watching this, thank you so much for your patience and for your kindness and for giving me your time on this Sunday afternoon. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and I'm grateful. And it's good for my ego. I'm sorry. Anyway, the last episode that we're going to cover is No Rules, All Risk, One Reward. And this aired last weekend, March 14th through the 15th. And they showed a recap of Reina Del Rey's victory with the assist from the Enlightened. And of course, they also showed a recap of Sibley Skulls finding Santana Garrett dazed and confused after being kidnapped by them after that number 1 contenders match. So the Enlightened make their entrance as the episode gets started, and then they essentially kind of explain themselves. Not Santana, Samantha Smart. There's a lot of S names. As a fan of S names myself, there's a lot of S names in WoW, and sometimes it just gets kind of confusing. So forgive me if I call you a wrong S name. But Samantha Smart cut a promo saying, "Oh, you poor confused losers." I almost wrote "you poor unfortunate souls." Don't mind my Disney soul. Um, but she said, "Oh, you poor confused losers. I heard your whispers. Oh, what did Samantha do to her? Did she vanish? No, you idiots. Santana Garrett has been under our care. Because you see, when a mind is low IQ, low impulse control leads to violence. So we have to protect Wow, not from her strength, but from her stupidity. And you all know what? We did it, you guys. We saved her. We unburdened Santana from her own free will. Shut up, I'm not finished speaking. This is not cruelty. This is compassion. We did not destroy her mind. We enlightened it. And this scared me because I was like, so did they do a lobotomy on her? Did they take her brain out? What did y'all do to her? Like, be be so for real, Samantha. What did y'all do to Santana? Because this is really scaring me. Like, it's like y'all took out her low impulse control and all this other stuff. It's giving brain surgery, and I'm really nervous about it. So as we move forward, we go into the match that started the episode, which was the Enlightened, Miranda the Mindful, Nova Sky, and Dr. Pandemonium versus Xena Phoenix, Sierra Sands, and Little J Bookie. Um, yeah. That promo really did just kind of just suck the life out of me a bit because I was just like, what did y'all do to her? And will you guys do the same after you beat, or if you guys were to possibly beat Xena, Sierra, and Lil J? Like, it was just really crazy to me. So the match started with Nova Sky and Little J Boogie, and Nova was wrenching the arm of Little J Boogie. But J Boogie grabbed Nova's arm and did the same thing to her. She hit two arm drags to Nova Sky, and then Nova raked J Boogie's eyes and then tagged in Miranda the Mindful. And Sierra Sands tagged in, but then Miranda M2, I'm going to call her M2 from now on. Miranda the Mindful chopped Sierra in the chest, but then Sierra countered with a hip toss and blocked a kick from her, and then hit a hip splash that reminded me a lot of Jada Parker with a kick to the face and a 2 count. It was just really funny because after she hit the hip splash, I want to say it's a teardrop or whatever. She kind of hit a little bit of a skippy dance with it that kind of looked like that, and I was just like, this is really very similar to Jada Parker from NXT, but whatever. Um, Miranda then broke Sierra's submission attempt and then tagged Dr. Pam Demonium, and then Sierra tagged Xena Phoenix. And Dr. Pam is probably my favorite of all of the Enlightened members next to the Classmaster because she just has this wild look to her. And I just love her gear, and she just looks very unique, and she's just really cute. And I just like, I don't know, she likes to scream, and I just really think that that's really interesting to me. But and she can go in the ring as well. Xena shoulder tackled Dr. Pam, and she avoided attack and then tossed Dr. Pam to the side and then suplexed her for a 1 count. And then Xena executed an inverse crucifix pin. That's the best way I could describe it. To try to get the upper hand. But then Dr. Pam hit a jawbreaker to escape Xena and then tagged Miranda. And then Xena hit a drop toe hold and then tagged Sierra Sands. Sierra then hit a forearm blow to Miranda, and then the Classmaster got up to talk trash to Sierra Sands, but then Miranda twist kicked through the ropes and then kicked the front and back of Sierra Sands and hit a split for a 2 count. But then Dr. Pam comes in and then holds up the enlightened hand and then chops Sierra with a really diabolical laugh that I was just mentioning earlier. And as the back and forth continued, Little J Boogie hit a step up insecurity to Dr. Pam. Then Nova Sky broke the count and then elbowed Xena off of the apron. And then Sierra tagged in, but then Little J Boogie got dragged out of the ring by Miranda the Mindful, and the Classmaster attacked Xena with the book. And Dr. Pam hit a backwards flying DDT in order to win the match. So the Enlightened are looking pretty strong. as they seek to enlighten minds and suck people's brains out, more than likely. Um, that's just my story and I'm sticking to it. I really feel like they might have done something bad to Santana. Like it's just that's just how I feel about the situation. So yeah, it was just really crazy. But it was a really good and hard fought match. I love the chemistry that Sierra Sands, Xena Phoenix, and Lil J Boogie had throughout the match, but I hated that Sierra Sands took the brunt of the punishment towards like the middle part of it, but other than that, it was still really good and the Enlightened really have something going here as the next top heel of action. So I think the Alliance, Top Tier, and the Fab Four really should keep their eyes on him. Especially since this is the team that's most likely to suck your brain out. So yeah, after that match, we go backstage with Ashley Blaze, Tara Strike, and Sibley Skulls. And this is the part where I did mention earlier where they were trying to vie for a tag team title opportunity. And I was just happy to see 3 Black women on my screen in this way. It was awesome. So hopefully we'll see that tag team title match come to fruition because Sibley also went to Miami Sweet Heat to ask them if they would be interested in fighting them, and they said, "Oh, we'll think about it as we go party in our limousine and at our and drink our champagne or whatever." And then they showed a video of Top Tier in a rage room, and this spoke to me because 2 years ago for my birthday, I went to a rage room just to try it and it was fun. But one of the hilarious parts of going to a rage room is that if you go and if you don't necessarily wear a helmet, like I didn't do, glass and debris can wind up in your hair. And I was pulling glass out of my hair for about a good 2 days. It was hilarious. It was so hilarious. Places where I didn't even think glass could be wound up, like in parts of my hair. And I was just like, oh my God. But it's very cathartic and very, interesting. And it is very hard, heavy metal. It's full metal and it's crazy. So if you ever want to go to a rage room, I highly recommend it. Go even when you're not angry. Just go if you want to just have fun and be destructive and hit some stuff. But it's definitely cathartic on those days when you are upset. So, yes, do rage rooms. They're great. So, after we see Top Tier in the rage room, we get an exclusive interview with Santana Garrett with Nigel Zane after her attack. And she said that after she got hit in the head with the book, she kept getting flashes of memories, but she's just, and they're just pieces that she keeps having to put together, but it's nothing coming to for real. And she said that, she that the images that she's seeing are the members of the Enlightened just coming and going constantly. So with that in mind, there's no telling what they did to her. And I'm very intrigued to find out what was it that these women did to her. Like I really feel like they sucked her brain out. I don't know. It's scary. But we'll figure it out. Then they showed a recap of all of the drama involving Top Tier and Monsters and Metal, especially with all of the matches that Top Tier cheated with. Especially when it came to that one match where they yanked the referee out and the referee called no contest and they were just trying to find any loophole they could to try to, keep those titles by any means necessary. And then we flash over to Monsters and Metal, and Fury talked about how she wanted to return to her Psycho sister roots with this match, and they actually had steel chairs with each member of Top Tier's name on it. And I said, yeah, this is theirs. Yep, this is Monsters and Metal's time. I'm absolutely here for this. This is their time. So, with this in mind, we move forward to the main event of this episode, Full Metal Massacre for the Wild World Trios Championship between Monsters and Metal and Top Tier. I will give Top Tier their tens for being the first ever Trios champions and really just carrying those titles the way that they have. It low-key feels like for the past year to a half a year or 2 years, they really have carried. And that's a legacy that they get to brag about forever. But it wasn't their time this time because there were no rules. Anything goes. There was no DQ. all the weapons could be used here. So, in the midst of it all, we saw so much danger. At one point, there was Daisy Lane getting her Terry Funk on and actually putting on the ladder and spinning it around and hitting all the members of top tier. There were trash can lids being used. At one point, I do believe one of the members of top tier splashed into one of the members of Monsters and Metal while inside the trash can. It was really tough. Like, I feel like this is probably one of the better extreme matches that I've seen on a wrestling show. It was just the quality of it, it was just really, really good. And it kept your attention throughout. There was even one point where Daisy even locked in a submission on Coach Campanelli, which I'm pretty sure had to be sweet given their history. Chainsaw was tossing chairs everywhere and everything else in the ring. There were chains being used for punches. Like, it was just really crazy stuff. And even Daisy Lane hit a splash from the top of a ladder, which was just insane. Then you had Chainsaw put Coach Campanelli in a wheelchair and roll her all the way down the ramp. Like, these women, this had to be probably one of the most spiteful matches I had ever seen. And of course, a lot of people, women got blasted through tables and everything. But in the midst of it all, after Daisy hit the cannonball splash to Gloria, they got the 1, 2, 3. And we finally have new WoW Trios champions in the form of Monsters and Metal. And this made me so happy because you can see how emotional Daisy Lane was when she first won. Like, she was crying and everything because really this is her first championship. And the idea that she won it off of the woman who helped train her in Team Spirit is really fantastic. It's like another fantastic form of storytelling that I think WoW doesn't get a lot of credit for. I think that's amazing. And so now she has her first title. Fury, I'm not entirely sure. I have to look back in my WoW history, but I'm not sure if she's really ever won a title either, or a Chainsaw, but I'm so happy for them because you could tell it still meant a lot to them. And they went through a whole heck of a lot to teach top tier a lesson in not bullying people and trashing people. So now we're living in a world where top tier isn't top tier anymore. They're not the champions anymore. So I'm wondering if they're going to crash out or if Coach is going to turn on them the way she turned on Team Spirit. I don't know, man. It's just going to be crazy. But I am so thrilled for Monsters and Metal. I'm so glad they won. I'm so happy for them. So that was the end of that episode, and now we've reached the end of our time together. Thank you guys so much for watching me live talk about everything that happened with WoW over these past couple of episodes. Of course, if you want to follow me, you can follow me, your girl Stephanie Hardy, on Instagram and Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy. You can follow the show, The Hardy Wrestling Podcast, on Instagram at Hardy Wrestling Podcast, and on Twitter at Hardy Wrestle Pod. You can also subscribe to the YouTube channel and share any clips, repost any clips that you might see of the show, this show, and all other of my other shows as well. And also support Katrina at InCat We Trust. And support her and everything that she's got going on. But most importantly, support women's wrestling. Hello. It's amazing. And at some points, it's even better than the men's. So as long as that continues to go on, especially during Women's History Month, we will continue to support it. Support your indie women, support your mainstream women, support your kind of mainstream women. Like, just support women in wrestling as a whole. And actually give WoW a chance. If you're wondering where WoW airs for you, you can go on wowe.com and type in your zip code to see what channel it comes on for you. You can also watch it on Vice TV if you have that channel. It comes on Thursdays at 9 p.m., I think, and other time, depending on whatever your time zone is. And then they post their matches on YouTube as well, so you can go on WoW Superheroes and subscribe to them and watch it there, and buy their merch as well too. And they also have an official podcast that Nigel Zane hosts every Friday. So if you want to watch that, you can. But you can also come back and watch ours too. So you could just get the double WoW content. So yeah, this has been Steph and Cat Talk WoW, brought to you by the Hardy Wrestling Podcast and In Cat We Trust. And until next time, bye y'all.